The Honourable Annette King.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. What's that old saying? It goes something like, full of sound and fury signifying nothing. And that's exactly what we got from the Chief Government Whip, where all he could do was bellow and be bombastic. You know, there was so little in the budget. They've taken to splitting their votes because they can't fill in the whole 5 minutes. They're struggling to fill in 5 minutes. So what do? They spend their 5 minutes that they've got talking about us. Talking about us. Well, thank you very much. We're very happy for you to talk about the opposition because we're doing such a damn good job. And so carry on. Devote all your speeches to the opposition. Labor Party is very happy about it. I know the Greens will. New Zealand First, we have no problem with you talking about us. But there's another saying, Mr. Speaker. I think it goes, there are statistics, damn statistics and lies. Well, I have to say there's none more so than in the health portfolio, because...
Point of order. The Honourable Jonathan Cole.
Unparliamentary to imply that lies are being told. No.
I don't need any assistance for this.
It's unparliamentary.
Please take your seat.
You need to withdraw and apologise.
Please take your seat, Minister. The honourable member gave a quote, recited a quote. If he wants to apply that to himself, he's welcome to. But she was completely within standing orders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. And week after week, the hapless Minister of Health, he stands up in this Parliament and he denies, he denigrates and he ducks questions put to him about the government's performance in health. You know, he is brilliant at statistical gymnastics. He is great at the backflip. He is very good at the forward roll. He's a contortionist and he's the con man of health. And you see, Mr. Speaker, oh dear, he's very sensitive today.
I don't need any assistance there. If it's escaped the minister that this is a fairly robust debate, then, you know, I feel sorry that he's at that loss. But to suggest that you're a con man, as the minister obviously did, you may well take offence. If you've taken offence, you may well seek a withdrawal and an apology. I would suggest you're a little bit more robust than that.
I take offence at terms such as lies and con men. Yeah, I do.
You already ruled on the lies.
I've ruled on the lies. If you take offence at the veiled accusation re a con man, no doubt the Honourable Annette King will withdraw it.
I will withdraw, Mr. Speaker. I have to say, I take offence. No, you didn't ask me to apologise.
It better be a good point of order.
It is.
The Honourable Jonathan Coleman.
The member has been here for a long 30 years and she knows it's withdraw and apologise. You don't just get up and say withdraw.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order.
You did not ask me to apologise. You asked me to withdraw. I withdrew.
It is entirely over to the Speaker as to what he requests, or sorry, what he requires. There was no suggestion she apologise. The instruction was that she withdraw, and she did that. Now, we won't have any more frivolous points of order which are aimed at breaking up a speech. I recall the Minister himself got a pretty good go.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I have to say that I am offended week after week, day after day, at the performance of the Minister of Health. Dr. Coleman, he's just picked up where Tony Rowell left off. You see, it works like this. Blame again, and then blame some more. But 8 years on, the blame game has become national shame. It's become national shame. They've run out of excuses. They've run out of places to hide because the truth is out. Because after 8 national governments, their national health budgets, $1.72 billion of cumulative underfunding has occurred. $1.72 billion. And in this budget, the overall health budget, $50 million is missing. To make it worse, when you drill down and look at the DHB budget, $140 million is missing in real terms. Now, those are not my figures, Mr Speaker. They are Infometrics' updated report replicating the Treasury model from their fiscal strategy model. It takes demographics and inflationary cost pressures and uses these to calculate the real growth in core Crown health expenditure. So if Dr Coleman doesn't like the figures, produce his own model and tell New Zealanders what really is happening in health. You see, what Infometrics does is they take the demographics calculated by using the 2009-10 health cost weights and applies this to the population data from Budget 2016 fiscal model. And then when they look at the average inflation growth, it's calculated from the previous year and the forecast from the Budget 2016 fiscal model. So that means that the Treasury calculation using the demographic growth is extremely, extremely conservative. And what you get out of that, when you put it together in the same way that Treasury does, is that the real growth in core Crown health expenditure is only 0.4%. 0.4%, and that is why health does not have sufficient money. So when every day, when the hapless backbenchers, along with their minister, come in here and read out their skite sheet of health achievements, they are increasingly laughed at by the public of New Zealand, the ones who live in daily pain and disability and who are missing out on health services. But you see, I do feel a little pity for the Minister of Health, because the well of excuses is exhausted. He is now resorting to tinkering around the edges of truth. So take mental health. He claimed that DHBs have $568 million allocated that could be part of it, could go to mental health. Did they get $568 million for DHBs? Wouldn't the Minister of Health know his own budget? No, they did not. They got $400 million. Take off the $11 million they must put into Pharmac's budget, and you're down to $389. Now we hear they're going to have to pay part of the cost of the bowel rollout. So you can see why our DHBs are underfunded, and they have no idea what is happening in mental health. Many of those members opposite are constituency members. And I cannot believe they have not had come to their constituency offices telling them about problems in mental health. If they don't, then they're not performing their role as constituency MPs. Their doors are not open to listen to what people say, because all of us, and including members who are list members from the opposition, have heard these stories day after day of the crisis in mental health. So if you don't want to believe your constituents, have a look at the recent reports on mental health failure. Northland DHB report into terrible failure in mental health. Mid-Central DHB. Capital and Coast under review right now because of the number of suicides. Waikato DHB. Canterbury DHB. These are major reviews and reports showing failure in our mental health system. Then let's look at the major announcement in the budget. The bowel screening program. Everyone knows that we have one of the highest rates of bowel cancer in the world. 3,000 cases registered every year, about 1,200 deaths every year. And in 2007, the then Minister of Health, David Cunliffe, announced the rollout of a budget screening program that would start in 2008-09. And the Minister in the House today in an answer said, well, Labor announced it in 2008 and 7, and they didn't implement it in 2008. We lost government in 2008. So why did this government not pick up the rollout of the bowel screening program and implement it? The Minister said today that 700 lives a year would be saved if this program was in place. In other words, 6,300 lives could have been saved if they'd rolled out the bowel screening program when it was announced. And did they start where the highest incident and the highest death rate is in bowel cancer? the southern part of New Zealand? No. Within days of the budget announcement, with a quick phone call or two to two little DHBs, the minister announced a rollout. Had it been to Cabinet ministers? Has the case for the bowel screening program gone to Cabinet? No, it has not. I have not heard of an announcement where there's big ticket item and dollars attached to it that has not gone through a Cabinet process. That is not a Cabinet government to make such an announcement. But they were desperate. They were desperate, Mr Speaker, to make an announcement before the budget. And so you've now got what I call the McColeman announcement. That's the announcement you have when you don't really have an announcement, because there is a problem with it. Treasury has given it a red flag. They are very worried about the implementation. So what does the minister do today? He goes on radio and he slags off all the Treasury officers, the very Treasury officers that the Minister of Finance stands up in this House and tells us every day we've got to believe their forecast. They had decades of deficits. We were meant to believe that. And we were meant to believe those Treasury forecasts, but we're not meant to believe, Mr Hudson, that Treasury said the rollout of the bowel cancelling program is a crock at this stage and gave it a red flag. You see, you like it both ways, I think, Mr Hudson. So where in this budget is the funding to honour the promises that were made to our older people? Where is the money to pay for home care? Where is the money to pay for the minimum wage increase for all those wonderful women who look after our old people in their home? And do you know, Mr Speaker, the providers of home care services have not had funding to account for the increase in the minimum wage for 7 years. 7 years. I've got their report, not my words. 7 years they have not had funding to pay for the increase in the minimum wage, and that has eroded over $7 million a year from their provision of services for our old people. They deserve better, don't they? Our old people deserve the best possible care in their own homes. This budget is a flop and a failure, and that is why they cannot talk about it.
Mr Speaker.